You're listening to Following On here on talkSPORT 2 with me, Neil Manthorp, along with Double Ashes winner Steve Harmison. And a reminder that you can subscribe to the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel, where, among other things, you'll find an exclusive interview with Surrey head coach Gareth Batty, who hasn't ruled out signing international or Indian national players ahead of the Test series against England this summer.
There's definitely a chance. I've already had a couple of messages from Kumar Sangakkara with a couple of players want to come and play. In fact, I've had that for the last 2 years. It's amazing how many players want to come and play county cricket. The domestic structure, which within our own system we don't always say nice things about, but around the world it's the envy of, it's the jewel in the crown to create the best international team. With India coming into town, I think they're the best international setup. They're producing players to play all formats, not pigeonhole, not looking for shortcuts. It's the real deal, and it fills me with excitement to see the game being pushed forward by the powerhouse. I think England can challenge them, absolutely. But will we see one of those players before that comes? There's a bit of me that has the England hat on that says, I don't want to give them an edge. But there's also the Surrey hat that says, I want to win everything. And if these people that potentially might want to come and play, we will have the conversation, absolutely.
That's Surrey head coach Gareth Batty, and you can watch the full interview out now on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. Quick thoughts on that, Harmy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. If I was a director of cricket in English cricket, I mean, I'm trying to get my county to be the best, and it's the best that are available. Wow, we talk so many times, manners, don't we, about getting overseas players, quality overseas players to play county cricket. So, you know, we whinge and moan when we get third grade cricketers now coming because there's that much on offer in the franchise world. I mean, if Virat Kohli, and let's be fair, it's Virat Kohli. I mean, Virat Kohli's not signed for anybody else other than Surrey. I mean, he's not. So, and he's already said he'd be interested in playing county cricket. So
you can't see him at Grace Road, then?
No, I can't see him I mean, I love Mickey Arthur to bits, as we know, but I can't see him playing for Derbyshire. I really can't. I mean, I love Mick, and he's got great powers of persuasion, and I think he's coached everybody probably except Virat Kohli, but I can't see Virat turning up at Leicester or Derbyshire or Northampton. So I would imagine it'll close to be the River Thames. I would imagine he'd be able to go in the north side or the south side, and I'm assuming it will be the south side because the south side's got a very good wicket to bat on. I don't think Virat will be fancying facing Dan Worrall in anything other than the nets. So if he does come over, great. I mean, yes, it's great. Does it make a difference? Not really. I mean, it doesn't. Having played so many times for England in England, an overseas team comes over and maybe an overseas player comes over a little bit earlier. I mean, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it when I face them first up in a test match. Test cricket, first class cricket, completely different animal. So if we get a chance, and Surrey members or whoever Surrey are playing, get a chance to see Virat Kohli for 2 or 3 games, I've got no real problem with it. I really haven't. It's England's problem when England get to facing Virat Kohli. It's not England's problem what happens before that. If he gets a bit of form, he gets into a bit of touch. I mean, it still comes back to with a test match arena. It's a completely different animal altogether. So if we can, Surrey can get him, and if we can get 2 or 3 of the top Indian players to come over and play, I mean, I think it'll be an even more of a feather in the cap for first class cricket in our country.
Okay, you've had the travel schedule from hell over the last 48 hours, and there's more of it to come. You're currently in Guernsey, having been in New York last week. So I'm assuming, safely, I would think, that you did not watch any of the Sunrisers Hyderabad against the Rajasthan Royals, setting a new IPL run aggregate of 528 runs. All the bowlers suffered, but Jofra Archer now is the not so proud owner of the title of most expensive analysis in the IPL. None for 76. I did happen to watch it by accident, so I can tell you what happened. But your thoughts? Four overs, no maidens, none for 76. That's 19 and over.
Yeah, I did see it, Manners.
Did you? How on earth did you manage that?
I did see it. So I was in Oxford Friday night, Manchester Saturday night, Nottingham Sunday night, and I left Nottingham at 11 o'clock Sunday night, and I had to drive to Newcastle, picked up a different bag from home, and flew to Guernsey at 6 o'clock on Monday morning. Got a horrible schedule wrong, all my doing as usual. Got no control of concept of time and diaries, but I did see, because I was doing. I don't even think I'm allowed to say the name of the show. There was a very, very famous quiz show, sports quiz show on TV with Phil Tufnell, Sue Barker, and Matt Dawson on TV, which was taking off, and I've got no idea what for. It is hilarious, brilliant fun. On the stage, we did it, and we had some. The guests were fantastic. But because it started at 7:30, when it started at 7:30, anything after 7:30, I was off. But TV's in the room, and I was watching the IPL, and I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't. Jofra, I apologise for laughing. I really do. But anybody that goes to Hyderabad as a bowler just must feel hamstring after hamstring after hamstring 20 minutes before the game starts, because it is. And reason why I'm laughing, because, man, as many people well know, I was the proud owner of the most expensive figures in 50 over cricket for a long time. 10 overs for 93, I think it was, against Sri Lanka at Headingley, when Sanath Jayasuriya, I was bowling 95 mile an hour at Sanath Jayasuriya's head, and he kept hitting them over the Western Terrace. Not always in control, but it was just the faster I was bowling. I think Uppal Taranga as well was at the other end, and every time I bowled a decent ball, you sort of slash back foot cut it for 4 through point, and every time I bowled a fast aggressive one at their heads, they sort of seemed to get enough on it, which made it go for 6. It was just one of them days where every time I let go of the ball, I knew it was going for a million runs, and that's what's happened with Jofra. Nobody's mentioning Pat Cummins went for 60 off his 4 in the other half. So when you get days like that, man, I wasn't closely concentrating. It's a bit like in the Wankhede when Jofra went miles against India when he was for England. He didn't bowl badly in the Wankhede. I couldn't really watch it close enough to make enough call to say it wasn't a bad 4 overs. But he bowled all right in the Wankhede. Decent lines, decent lengths. Could have had 2 or 3 wickets, and in the end he went for 60 that day. This is T20 cricket. This is playing the IPL, and with that substitute we've got now, which I think is an absolute shocker. There runs and runs and runs. It's heavily weighted to all the batter. Jofra Archer, and I don't know Jofra as well as I know most of the bowlers in England, but the character that Jofra's got, I've got no worries that the next game that Jofra turns up, he won't be thinking 0 for 76. He'll be fine. He'll be good as gold. So I'm just pleased to see he's playing, he's bowling, and he's getting through his 4 overs. So the more overs he bowls, the better it is for England coming into the summer. I don't care if he goes for 76. I really don't. I just want volume into him. So as being an owner of a very, very expensive 10 overs and 50 over cricket, I know how he feels like. I didn't give it. I didn't think 2 hoots the next time I went out to bowl. The one thing I will say, I would not fancy being a bowler at Sunrisers Hyderabad and playing home games there every single game. I know these lads get paid a lot of money, but I'd want double what I'd get, just because I'd want danger money for anything else. 528 runs in a 20 over game. Wow, that's massive. Are we gonna? Yep, matters. Are we gonna see this year the proud? Is somebody going to be the proud owner of 300?
Yes.
You reckon?
Yeah, and it'll be Sunrisers. They got 4 of the 5 highest scores already. They were only 1 short of their record in this innings. And I have to say that Ishan Kishan hit Jofra for 3 sixes in the 3rd over, they were astonishing shots. And I can honestly say that I think Archer bowled 2 really bad balls. The first one of the 4th over, which was a high full toss, went for 4 byes, and there was another one. But the second ball of the last over, he's absolutely nailed his wide Yorker, and Klaassen's got a little edge on it, and it's just run off.
It's not your day. It's not your day.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, as I said, a really bad day at the office. I wish the boss could have let him go home. Okay, we need to move on. Phil Salt, new franchise for him, RCB, 56 from 31 as they made a winning start. And I mentioned Liam Livingstone, 15 off just 5 balls. I just want to mention those 2 because They got a bit of stick from the
Yeah.
crowd when England were there, when we were there
Mm.
watching them, didn't they? There
Yeah.
was a few sort of less than complimentary comments about RCB's two signings because they both had, modest tours. That's putting it kindly for England. So well done to them.
Yeah.
Also news, Harmy, that Shardul Thakur has been picked up by Lucknow Supergiants, so now won't be joining Essex for the beginning of the season. You can comment on those if you like. Just sort of news stories. But I do want to talk a little bit more about Harry Brook, and his ban has been confirmed from the IPL for 2 years. I've been really upset after you explained so elegantly. I don't expect people like Michael Clark and Ricky Ponting and whatever to listen or watch our show, but Harry Brook was, I thought, crystal clear about
Mm.
his reasons for pulling out, and it's massively disappointing. Certainly for the team that bought him for £600,000, but it wasn't about the money. I mean, Michael Clark on an Australian breakfast show said, "Well, you can't just pull out because they're not giving you enough money," and it just so clearly wasn't
Yeah.
about the money, was it?
No, none whatsoever. No, I mean, I've seen that clip, and I felt like sending Michael Clark a message to say, "Come on, But in defence of like Michael Clark, and I mean, Sunil Gavaskar was brutal as well, but they don't understand. They really don't understand. I mean, in defence of Michael Clark, he doesn't see the England touring as closely as what we do, and we have to comment on, and where they have to go, and the way things have gone. They've misread that room. I mean, by a million miles. You have misread that room by a million miles. This is not about money. This is not. I went for 1 million last time, and I've only getting 600 this time. I mean, I even think if Harry Brook had a stellar IPL last time, and this time he went for $2 million, I don't think he would have gone. I think this is a guy looking after himself. I don't even think he's looking after England. This is the point that I think people are missing with Harry Brook. I don't think Harry Brook is pulled out of the IPL to protect how he plays for England. I think he's doing it from just to protect himself, and that's the thing that really annoys me about. And I'm only going off experience. I'm going off my experience. If I'd been away for the length of time that Harry did, and the way I used to feel, I mean, we don't know what the ins and outs of what's going on in Harry's mind. But if it was me, you could have offered me 10 million and I still wouldn't have gone to the IPL. Not because it's the IPL, not for anything. I mean, there's times when you get to a point where one more tour, and I mean, your mind starts to go spiraling, then your form goes and everything that goes with it. I just think this intense competition that the IPL is, I think Harry's protecting himself. I don't know this. I've never spoke to anybody inside the camp. I just think Harry's protecting himself. I don't think he's protecting the England cricket team. I don't think it's got anything to do with possible being a white ball captain. I just think there's people that have been making comments from the side that don't know, the ins and outs of the England cricket team and follow them that closely and how much they tour and the schedule they've got. I just think this is a human being protecting his own mental well-being rather than going to a competition where, I mean, what the ramifications if he goes and it doesn't go well from a mental point of view. I just think people don't understand. I really do. So it's easy sitting there and it's money, money, money. Everything about the life now is money, 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 and greed. And that's why I'm so proud of Harry Brook. He's gone. I'm looking after myself. Not England. I mean, the last thing I needed at that time was to go on another trip, no matter how much you're going to pay me. So fair play to him. He's banned till 2028. I think Harry might just go, well, that might do me a favour. This might be doing him a favour. That will then look after England. So good for him. But I was annoyed at some people who were just throwing stones for the sake of throwing stones because he's an Englishman, rather than having a real think about what the actual situation is. And he was an easy. I thought Harry Brook was an easy target to get at, which is nonsense.
So no test matches in South Africa this summer. That's the first time that's happened since the end of isolation back in 1992. There's been Boxing Day and New Year test matches every year. It's a little bit of an institution. But now the SA20 has magpied itself into that test match window. And South Africans will have to wait until October 2026 until they see their next test match on home soil. That'll be a summer in which they play Australia in 3 tests and then England in 3 tests. Although how they're going to sort that schedule out, I do not know. I asked Graham Smith, the commissioner of the SA20, how they were going to fit a multi-format tour by England in over the Christmas period, because it's 3 T20s, 3 ODIs, and 3 test matches, supposedly between December and the end of January, which is the SA20 window. And he said, I'll leave that up to CSA. So, Harmy, you know, what this comes down to is South Africa's complete lack of clout and presence and gravitas at administrative level at the ICC in Dubai. They've got no former cricketers on their board of directors. They've got nobody, and I'm sorry that this still matters, because the quality of administration should come down to the quality of administration, but it doesn't, because it's cricket, and cricket people recognise cricket people. And that's why Graham Smith is the most important cricket administrator in South Africa around the world. The gravitas and command and presence that he has in India, for example, Cricket South Africa have absolutely none of that. So I know that South Africa play fewer test matches than almost any other of the major test playing nations. But if they had somebody, I don't know, Gary Kirsten, you know, who knows his way around an office and administration, if they had some former cricketer on the chief executive, on the chief executive's board, or in any capacity at the ICC, they would have said, no, you can't do this. We're not agreeing to it. We're not. We need at least 4 test matches a year, every year, because, you know, the majority of South Africans can't watch test matches abroad on SuperSport. They can't afford it. It comes down to that old satellite free-to-air debate.
Yeah.
And, you know, so that Cricket South Africa have not just... it's prudent and sensible, and I understand their relationship with the BCCI. Cricket South Africa can't in any way stand up to them. They don't have the presence or the financial clout like many other countries. But they haven't just got into bed with the BCCI here. They've tucked the BCC up, and they're now scurrying about, making sure they're comfortable and adjusting the thermometer on the room temp. I mean, they will do. And the SA20, of course, is owned exclusively by IPL franchises. And so this is where cricket in South Africa is at. It's a private members club. It's administered by the ICC, but it is a private members club, of who the most important and powerful is the BCCI. And Cricket South Africa have just said, we'll keep our mouths shut. We won't jeopardise our place at the head table, and we'll make our meagre takings from the annual dividend last as long as possible. And that's the way, not just of Cricket South Africa, but South Africa's certainly paying a higher price at the moment in terms of exposure than any other country.
Yeah, it seems that way. Couple of things. There's 2 or 3 points that I'll throw back at you. Right, where do I start? I'm saying, where do I start? It's such a shame. I mean, South Africa could win the World Test Championship and never be able to sort of promote the trophy in their own back garden. During the year, they're potential champions. So, I mean, that trophy could go in a cabinet and nobody will see it because there's nowhere to promote it. Which I think, I mean, that's a shambles for the ICC. That more than anything else. So that's one thing. Alarm bells, worrying. Would it be worrying, concerning from an England point of view, from the English cricket point of view? That hold on, we've just sold 100 for 500 million. You know, we've sold our silver. You know, we've given that away. South Africa have done that, and look where their cricket's going because of. And I know England have got a little bit more, a hell of a lot more skin in the game than what South Africa have. But at the end of the day, South Africa sold the dream of SA20 to the the BCCI and the Indian franchise owners. We've just done that with 100. What's to say in 5-10 years time? The 100 owners go, no, we're going to have not only August, we're going to have June as well, and we're going to have another competition. So that's my long-term concern on that, which is starting to play out because it's happening in South Africa. Is there any chance of change? Is there any way that this will sort of the noise get too much in South African cricket South Africa look at a window and go, right, we're going to try and arrange 3 test matches in whatever month in South Africa because we are now world test champions. So is there any chance of change? I mean, you've answered the question about how powerful these franchise owners are. It is a real shame.
No, there's going to be no substantial change. This situation will happen again, and part of me thinks that Cricket South Africa brought it upon themselves when they decided to send a C team or a D team to play 2 test matches in New Zealand 2 years ago at the beginning of this current test cycle. So you sow what you reap. I mean, to be honest, or sorry, you reap what you sow is what I mean. And so they have 5 T20s. South Africa's best cricketers will play basically 5 straight months of T20 cricket. This under an organisation which still trots out the line that that Test cricket is the prime format. But they will play the SA20, followed by a 5-match series against the West Indies in February. Then it's another T20 World Cup, and then it's IPL again. So that goes from December through till mid-May. 5 straight months of T20 cricket.
What are the Manas? What do the players think of this? Because surely, I mean, some of the players that do play just one format, Test cricket, they're concerned about their. Can some of them be questioning their future? As in, well, hold on, I'm not going to be playing Test cricket, so I know, and you get a lot. We've benefited huge. I played with the biggest one, that was Peterson. We got a lot of South African players with dual passports going over to England and playing a huge amount of cricket in England. David Bedingham, I'm thinking, as one. I know he got a SA20 gig last year, but would you get some of the younger players going, well, my avenue is I might get a little SA20 contract, not get a massive one, but my future might be in England, or my future might be in New Zealand or Australia, like David Conway and 1 or 2 others.
Yeah, absolutely, of course, yes. I mean, the national captain, the Test captain, Temba Bavuma, he's on a national contract. He didn't get an SA20 gig, and there are now no players. There used to be a small breed. Dean Elgar was one who would survive on first-class cricket and Test cricket, and it became less and less. I remember speaking to Dean, 3 years ago, and he said, "We're only playing 6 Test matches this year." Well, he got out at the right time.
Yeah.
But it's now impossible. If you can't make your living in SA20, you can't make unless you're on a national contract, and then you can survive. So very sad, and I am afraid that that's a situation that's not going to change. There will be the occasional bumper summer, and there'll be one in 2026 when there are 3 Test matches. South Africa haven't played a 3 Test match series for 3 years, 4 years actually. It's all been 2 tests, but England and Australia in the same summer will be.
That's a big ask, isn't it? That's a big ask.
Yeah.
For not having played Test cricket for a long time, 18 months, and then 3 Test matches. They're not play a test, have a week off, play a test. There'll be 3 back-to-back Test matches. That'll be 15 days of Test cricket in 24 days. I mean, you're going from bowling 4 overs. I know England play quickly, and the games don't last 5 days. But you're asking. Then you're putting players at risk. The welfare of the players. And I know South Africa haven't got a huge sort of like the PCA. I'm not sure what the equivalent is in South Africa, the players' union. But surely somebody's got to be saying, hold on. I mean, Kagiso Rabada is going to go. He's going to be playing all 5 months, up and down IPL, up and down the SA20, and then Shukri Conrad's going to go. Come on, Kagiso, you're going to have to bowl 25 overs at Ben Stokes' team. Probably twice in a week. 5 times in a month. If I was Kagiso, I'm going back to playing T20.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I just want to say that they are playing some away tests in that 18 months. And so straight after the World Test Championship final, they're doing a favour to the neighbours up north, Zimbabwe, by going and playing 2 test matches in Zimbabwe, straight from Lords to Harare. And they've got 2 tests as part of the next World Test Championship cycle in Pakistan and India back to back in October and November. So they are playing some tests, very few, before next year, but nothing at home for over 18 months. We'll have to talk about the stadium, the £500 million stadium in part 4, Harmy, because we're out of time. Okay, before we talk about the stadium, Harmy, let's just hear a quick snippet from England wicketkeeper Jamie Smith. He made his Test debut, of course, and scored his first century in 2024. And he's been looking ahead to the Ashes, talking to our very own producer, Scott Taylor.
It's really exciting for cricket in general, English cricket. It's a big summer, and leading into the winter, it's the most talked about series, isn't it? And as a player, I think that fuels you on for really exciting, because if you can do well in them sort of 2 series, and it gets talked about for long periods of times. It opens up doors for you for moving forward if you want to venture into the IPL and other leagues, if that's the way you want to go. We've seen how big an impact it can be sometimes doing well against India. And then the Ashes speaks for itself. I mean, if you can go do something special away in Australia, I mean, that's something that is, always gets spoken about. So, the stuff in the future is obviously really exciting. The chance to win 4 championships, I mean, hardly ever happens. To win 3, you get extremely lucky to win 3. Obviously, we had a fantastic time over the 3 years. It was built on foundations from previous years as well. But I'm not sure 4 is going to be as straightforward. It's getting harder and harder each year. But the motivation seems to be there. As I said, we've got people moving in the right directions, wanting to do stuff for their career, which definitely helps. And a fantastic coaching staff that I don't think you can get better around. The work they do, the hours they put in, that doesn't go unnoticed, and I think that shows that the talent there is in that dressing room. There's talent alone, but then there's the work that's gone into improving players. The player I was 2 years ago was nothing like the player I am now, and there's no coincidence that it's a bit of maturity and experience, but it's the level of work that goes in behind the scenes.
That's England keeper Jamie Smith talking to Scott Taylor, and we'll have more of that extensive interview in future programmes, and I'm sure you can find it on the YouTube channel as well. Let's talk about this stadium, Harmy. We're supposed to have squeezed it into part 3, but I couldn't help chuckling, thinking, well, ECB have just sold the 100 for close to or just over £500 million, and there was lots of talk about. We heard from Mickey Arthur a couple of weeks ago saying that would future-proof Derbyshire, and how that there was a committees being sent up to make sure that the money was spent wisely. And now there's talk of blowing it all on an indoor stadium in which you can play test matches, and they've identified Manchester, which is going to become the sporting hub of the world if Manchester United build their new fancy state-of-the-art stadium. I mean, is this real?
I thought it was a wind-up. I thought it was it, but I thought it was. I mean, I know we're getting close to April the 1st. It's next week, but I thought it was. But hey, it makes a huge amount of sense if you can get it done. I've played in an indoor stadium in Sydney. It was freezing. I mean, it was freezing cold. I mean, we played I didn't play in it. There's a couple of games in Wales' stadium where they can close the roof. And if they could get it going, I think obviously they're probably looking at Hobart and seeing Hobart's got one possibly coming in the not too distant future. There's nobody needs it more than Manchester, but I mean, fair play if Richard Thompson can jump off on the bandwagon of Sir Jim Ratcliffe and get the government to pay for a new stadium as well as the Old Trafford getting a football stadium. That's a decent bit of business. I'm sure there's people in this country thinking there's a hell of a lot more good things can be done about spending money than indoor cricket stadiums and a £2 billion or £3 billion 100-seater football stadium. But I think, joking aside, if it could be done in a, why not? If you've got all this money that's coming in, that is something from a future-proof point of view that could, keep the revenue stream going. Nobody likes going to a test match, going to an international when it's rained off. My only concern is, I mean, there's going to be so much demand for playing inside it because you could play at any time of the year. So you could start the county championship in February. I mean, all 18 counties can play a game there if need be. You know what I mean? So just revolving door of getting people in and playing and playing and playing. I play cricket all year round, and it makes a huge amount of sense if it can be done. And I'm sure in this, the world we live in now, technology, I'm sure it could be done. So I think it will cost, Manus. I mean, 500 million. I mean, I work on talkSPORT with Newcastle, and Newcastle Stadium, 65,000 to 75,000 is going to cost £3 billion. Manchester United Stadium, brand new stadium, is going to cost £3 billion. I think the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium cost over £1.5 billion. I mean, we're sending the Irish builders in to build it for 500 million. I'm not sure we're going to get a full stadium for 500 million. So whoever's done them sums, it depends on how many seats. But hey, why not? If we can get it going, and that's what the 100's there for, and if the 100 buys us a stadium, then fair play. But I think I would imagine that'll be a long way off. But hey, reach for the stars, Richard Thompson. If you can get close to them, and you can get this passed through and got it off the ground, I'm sure it will be utilised wisely, especially somewhere like Manchester, because not just because of the rain. It's quite central as well. I think it's got good links, good rail links, and everything that goes with it. So it can't be done in London. It would be too expensive. So I would imagine Manchester or somewhere like Nottingham would be the ideal choice.
Yeah, there'd have to be drop-in pitches as well.
Yeah.
And that adds a couple of million.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask you, I learned a new word, Harmy, sesquicentennial.
Sesquicentennial. Don't ask me to spell it.
Don't ask me to spell it either. But it means the 150th anniversary.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you about what you think of the sesquicentennial test match at the MCG in 2027 being now a pink ball day-nighter.
I was actually thinking it was going to be a great contest, and then they brought the pink ball in. I didn't think we needed it. I mean, we're celebrating 150 years of test match cricket played between two huge rivals, massive nations. I don't think we need the pink ball. That's just my honest opinion. Not saying I don't like pink ball cricket, because I do. I really do. I think there's a place for it, and I think there's a place for more and more. But when we're celebrating 150 years of cricket between two huge nations going head to head, what the Ashes means in the game, I'm not sure pink ball would have been high up on my hit list. If it's just because they're going to play at night to get more people in, and I don't think that will be needed. I really don't. I think somebody's misread this one. I really do. I think they're using the pink ball to play at night, so people come in after work and whatever. I tell you what, you've got a Boxing Day test match in what was it, 6-7 months time, 8 months time. You'll get 2 or 3 days sold out, and I don't think you'll get many more. I don't think you get many more in because it's pink ball. Cricket fans, cricket lovers will go and watch England play Australia inside probably one of the biggest cricket stadiums in the world in the MCG. I don't think it needed the pink ball, but hey, that's just my opinion. But
yeah, it's a money decision, Harmy, and
it is, yeah.
it's the marketing department saying how can we maximize this, and
but man, as you followed cricket for a number of years now, and you've seen the pink ball come to fruition, which I've quite enjoyed. But have you seen massive crowd? You know, when it comes to the numbers up over the course of, if you go England Australia in an Ashes series at the MCG, you get 5 days of a certain number. Adding the pink ball to it, so I mean, the last one we had, when was it? We had
Mount
Maunganui. That the crowd.
Everyone left at tea time.
Exactly. You know, people can't. It's all right having a pink ball game that finishes at 10 o'clock, at 10:30. But if the last bus goes at 10 o'clock, which a lot of older people come to watch the cricket, a lot of older people will be sitting in blankets at 10 o'clock at night, freezing cold. I mean, yeah. But in your experiences of seeing the pink ball game, have you seen a huge uplift in the numbers, as in probably day 4, day 5?
No, and I don't even need to see it. You just have to look at the attendance records, because it hasn't made that much of a difference. I'm in favour of it. I do. I like it a lot, but I don't think it's appropriate this time. Anyway, look, I've got to ask you, the clock is ticking. We're running out of time. Dan Worrall, he's taken 139 county championship wickets at less than 22. He's a magnificent bowler, brilliant performer. He's 33 years old. He's basically Australian, but he qualifies to play for England this summer. And never mind the fact that whether he would want to play for England or not. I mean, he's obviously very loyal to Surrey, and but I think he largely regards himself as an Aussie. But I do think there might be an argument for England picking him just to really irritate the Australians.
Yeah, really irritate the Australians, but I just can't see. I can't see them picking him. I can't see Ben picking him. I can't see Brendan picking him, and I can't see Rob picking him. Rob Key, Luke Wright. I really can't. And is he good enough to play for England? Oh, no doubt whatsoever. And people will sit here and go, "Well, why don't they just pick him?" I just think if you've represented Australia and you've already represented Australia at cricket, then I think that's it. You're done. And I think that's probably the way Ben will see it, and that's the way Rob Key will see it. So he's a fantastic performer. I think he's an unbelievable bowler who's got better and better with age, like Jimmy Anderson, like Stuart Broad. I'd be surprised if England do pick him. I think Ben Stokes, Brendan McCullum, Rob Key and Luke Wright will be desperate that all their bowlers stay fit this summer, because the minute Dan Worrall becomes eligible to play for England, the clamour for him to play will be through the roof, and rightly so. But would I pick him? That's a difficult question. I'm not sure I would, but I'm not saying he's not good enough to play for England, because of course he is. But needs must at the end, and he might have to. That's why I was bowling well, going nicely for Durham when England decided to pick James Pattinson. And it was a two fingers to me and Matthew Hoggard that it was like, no, we've dropped you, so we don't want you to come back. We're going to pick James Pattinson. James Pattinson walked into the breakfast room, basically didn't know who anybody was, wasn't interested in anybody was, didn't want to play for England, and his performance showed that. And I don't think that will happen with Dan Worrall. But James Pattinson, like Dan Worrall, was a staunch Australian. But let's see. Keezy might have a different take on it, but I'd be surprised if Ben thinks Dan Worrall will be opening the bowl for England at some point during India or the Ashes series.